welcome to the Eudaimonia podcast. I'm Jeffrey Glazer, and today we have our second host, which is Brandon Kahn. He is going to school for to be a geologist, as I understand. Talk a little bit about that, Brandon.
Okay, so growing up, I've always had like an interest in earth science, and early on, it started out with my fifth grade teacher who got me interested in rock formations and all that kind of stuff. So I just think earth science in general, it's helpful to understand our world that we live in, and I think if we understand more about our world, we can be a better individual and help keep the earth a safe environment for all people and animals.
Sounds good. And then you also talked about you might change your classes to become something else.
Yeah, political science.
Okay, awesome. All right, and then on our other side here, we got Seth Mishler. He's going to be our guest today. And he studies more about pseudoscience and other sciences and stuff like that, and philosophies and whatnot. So tell us a little bit about that, Seth.
Well, I mean, feel a little underqualified. I mean, technically I'm a college dropout. But I still do a lot of my own independent studies of, wide range of things, science-related, pseudoscience, cryptozoology, metaphysics,
So,
spirituality.
One moment. So cryptozoology, for those that don't know what that is, how about you explain a little bit about cryptozoology?
Well, I guess by definition it means the study of hidden animals.
Okay.
So, and it's...
Give us an
things that-
example of
okay,
one.
You have, like, their cryptids. They would be things like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster,
Okay.
the stereotype ones, but there's a lot of other ones that are less known and some have plenty of evidence more than others. The only reason that they're not recognized as an animal that exists is because some white guy in a lab coat actually documented it.
Sounds about right. All right. Anything else you would like to add?
I mean, I guess just a little bit my background. I was raised in a pretty sheltered home with a pastor for a dad, and I know a lot about, a lot of religions, particularly Christianity, and a lot of like weird details about the Bible, and but I also, even in school, I got huge in science too, and when you start crossing those two things,
They really don't work well together.
yeah. And then I reached a point later in life when I started realizing how much stuff I've been taught that's just wrong. It doesn't even just extend to religion, but you'd be amazed how much that everyone is still taught in school is complete bullshit.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a really good description about yourself. So I guess I'll discuss a little bit about me. Basically, I just got really curious in all kinds of sciences and other people's opinions and beliefs and stuff. So I just like to get other people's sides on things, and even if I disagree with it, I try to study it at the most. And that's basically what led me to wanting to be like some kind of a motivational speaker, or like somebody that just likes to almost like journalism or something like that. So, Brandon, what are your worldly views on everything?
So, like you, I was brought up in a relatively conservative household. Since we're related, we know that our family is very religious.
Yes, definitely.
And
So is mine.
I grew up and, being taught Christianity and everything like that, I believed it. And I always felt when I was younger that I was the one good Christian, that I was the one doing everything right, and everyone else is just these godless sodomites. And I just felt better than everyone else. And I don't think it was until probably ninth grade where I really started questioning my belief in God. So I began to watch and read stuff from scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Richard Dawkins, people like that who are speakers, and I gradually got into philosophers like Dan Dennett and Sam Harris, who is I'm reading right now his book, The Moral Landscape. So I have a mostly secular worldview on things. I hate these people who want religion to interfere in politics in America. So and people will always say, "Oh, this is a Christian nation and it was founded on the Christian beliefs." And yeah, it's not. And if you read anything by Thomas Jefferson or Paine, you will know that they say specifically that the United States is in no way founded on Christianity. So I'm talking to people like Mike Huckabee and Rick Santorum and Rick Perry that want to run this nation and
Like,
turn into even Mike Huckabee. He's like, I don't want to bring a theocracy into America, but we need Jesus back in our government. And it's and you said you didn't want a theocracy, but you just said after that you want a theocracy. So yeah, I have a very
What do you
secular.
mean by Jesus back into our government? Like, now we're talking, because if he's not talking about Jesus being the focus of things, and is he bringing Jesus in as like another elected official?
We need him in our government.
Does he get a
But
vote
he
in
would be
Congress,
actually a pretty.
maybe?
He would. Let me say this: if he did exist and everything, all the stories that were said about him were true, he would be absolutely the best politician we've ever had.
Yeah, like he'd be assassinated as hell.
yeah.
People don't realize how much of a revolutionary the character of Jesus was, and how everyone freaking hated him. Even though I think there's some good things that he says, and you hear all these politicians are like, oh, we need to act more like Jesus, and then they go and say, oh, we need to make sure we don't give free handouts to the homeless, because that's totally what Jesus would do.
Well, and because the thing is, Jesus, at least the Jesus I like to envision, kind of stuck it to the man.
Yeah.
Because he came in and he was, he spoke out against the Roman Empire. I mean, he said not to, cause problems, but he was, but especially even more towards the Jewish theocracy. How, all the religious leaders, they were the main ones that wanted him dead, and he also, there was a story of him kicking out, basically the old-timey banksters out.
Yeah,
of the
definitely.
temple.
Well, definitely, yeah.
And teaching about love and forgiveness rather than going by the letter of the law and stoning who needs to be stoned, and like how he saved Mary Magdalene from let he who is without sin cast the first stone.
So, let's try not to get so far, because that will actually probably more than likely be another podcast.
Yeah.
A couple of these touches on here. On to our first topic of this podcast. We have aliens.
That's very broad.
Aliens are everywhere now. Which is kind of
Which kind, the legal or the illegal alien?
I was actually going to mention that. I'm glad that you brought that up. I'll bring that up probably later in this discussion because of a few of our questions here from the social media. But for this topic, I found one question that I really wanted to start it off with, since it was like the most logical to answer. Jamie Hope from Facebook says, "Are there any proven facts that they are real?" Started off, Seth Mishler, you have the floor.
If there has actually been any physical evidence of it, it seems to be indicating that the government may have taken it. Everyone knows about Area 51, and there's also hordes of other secret bases that probably don't even ever get mentioned.
Oh, definitely.
But, I feel like there's probably extraterrestrial life somewhere. I don't know, like, whatever these things are that people see in UFOs or, they, may or may not be something like that. I personally think it's also very plausible theory that it's just that like UFOs are like technology that was stolen from Tesla by the FBI when they raided his lab after he died. And aliens could even be a great cover for that, you know. So people don't start asking questions. Well, if you have free energy technology, why are we not using that to better humanity instead? Like, well, you're just making weapons out of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you also have things like crop circles, which a great documentary that everyone should watch, Thrive, What on Earth Will It Take? They touch on crop circles a lot in there, and how some of them seem to be showing us patterns of possibly how to make that free energy. And there's even a few where it seems like they sent back, here's one that seemed like where they sent back a response to a radio frequency we sent out. And and it actually has, it shows a diagram of a different solar system. It has a genome that's different from humans, and and there next to it there's even what looks like a portrait of an alien humanoid face.
Interesting.
Same thing. There's it actually wasn't on Thrive, but there's another crop circle. They call it the Crabwood crop circle, where it's a giant grid picture of what looks like, an extraterrestrial being holding out a disc, and in the disc has binary code that says, I don't remember exactly, it says something like beware the bearers of false gifts, and believe there is still good out there, conduit closing, something like that.
Interesting.
Can I just ask a question real quick?
Go ahead, ask a question.
Okay, so if I'm an alien, I travel hundreds of light years across the galaxy just to put some crop circles somewhere. I don't understand the reasoning behind that.
Okay. There's a book by what's his name? But it's called Behold a Pale Horse. His name will probably come to me.
That's fine.
But he talks about he's an ex-naval intelligence, and he said he has personally seen UFO crafts in government possession, and he's read documents about contact with extraterrestrials, but hasn't actually seen them himself. So he said either it's real, or it could just be misinformation that was intentionally fed to him.
Okay.
But he said, according to him, what he read about them was there's at least 2, probably more factions of them, and one of them contacted our governments and gave them, offered a deal where they gave them some technology, and they basically more or less own us. And
galactic
but
slavery.
there was another one that came and said, don't trust those ones. They're not looking out for your best interests. Humans aren't spiritually prepared for this level of technology. And I guess from what he says, they went with the probably evil ones because they gave them more immediate payout.
Okay, interesting. So you have a very, I don't expect anything less from Seth. He has a very ancient alien kind of like theory almost. So that's interesting stuff. So basically you're saying, do you personally think that aliens are a proven fact?
I think there's definitely enough that you can say that there is something. But it's more putting your finger on what exactly they are.
Okay.
Because like we might bring up later, is the hyperdimensional theory.
Yes, definitely.
And like that may even hold more water than just extraterrestrials, which both of them may exist.
Okay.
Especially the theory that maybe the hyperdimensionals made us, and possibly could have other projects on other planets.
Yeah. So we can get on to our host, our second host. So, are there any proven facts that aliens are real, Brandon?
In my opinion, there is no absolute confirmation of aliens. I personally believe there are aliens, maybe not necessarily intelligent life forms out there, but you look at us, Earth, we're one planet out of how many billions in our galaxy?
Yeah.
So if there's one in this solar system, why couldn't there be based off chance, just chance alone. Why couldn't there be some, even if it's a microscopic molecule somewhere else, that maybe evolution follows the same pattern, or relatively the same pattern it does on Earth, to where more complex life forms will eventually take place. So I think my view on aliens isn't necessarily a physical confirmation, it's a mathematical probability that there most likely has to be at least something, some sort of
definitely.
life form out there that can
But
reproduce.
That also, just because of the probability, they would probably also be very, very far away from us,
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
it hard to, even if we could travel the speed of light,
Take
the only,
very long.
The only way
Yeah.
really to be able to do that would
At
be
least
through
200.
bending space or making portals.
Definitely.
The only way that contact
Yes.
can actually be made.
All right. So basically, I guess we got the two sides there. Even though they're closely similar, only one believes in pseudoscience more, and the other believes in more of a scientific. I mean, there is a little bit of some kind of scientific understanding in the pseudoscience part. It seems like. It's just not like, is it legit? Is it real? That's the only thing that we need to do.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's always good to be skeptical.
Definitely.
Of course.
I mean, everything that I'll say about stuff like this, I'll try to add in whether it's solid facts or whether
Yeah.
it's just maybe it's a reliable enough source. But I personally do not have the physical evidence to back
Yes,
it up.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I would say that I would be a lot closer to Brandon's understanding, but I find Seth's very, very intriguing. I would say that, of course, we do not have any evidence. However, we did discover a recent planet that's most similar to Earth. Kepler, I don't remember the numbers behind it because they always
I
put
saw you post some on
long
Facebook
numbers.
about it, yeah. They have a ton they actually have a lot of planets that are Earth-like.
Yeah, there's theories of super Earths. I think we actually found some super Earths. We're just not for sure what if they are
Does that
or
just
not.
mean bigger?
Bigger,
How much bigger
and possibly much more of a better place to thrive
Well,
life than
They couldn't
ours.
be too big, because if they become too big, then they're
Then
just going to be a
it's-
gas
yeah.
giant.
Definitely, yeah.
Or
So
just have too much gravity and life itself would have to evolve.
Well, yeah,
completely
exactly.
differently.
yeah,
It's like Superman, how he came over to Earth, and the environment that he lived in it was more demanding. The gravity was more demanding on him, and when he came over here, gravity was like almost nothing, so he could just fly.
definitely, yeah,
So,
yeah. And
But it seems the description of the classic alien type looks more like something that would evolve in a lower gravity area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they would
and
probably be-
we'll get to something very similar to that here during our social media questions. So let's move on to our next question, and then after all these questions are answered, we will have kind of a free talk about all of the questions that have been spoken. So our next question is something that I chose to add into this conversation. Which moon in our solar system do you think is most likely to harbor life? Seth, we'll go to you first.
I think you're talking about Europa, right? Which the one that has the seas of methane, is it?
Yeah, it's-
that one's actually Titan.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Europa is the ice planet.
Okay, so it actually has water.
underneath it.
Yes.
Does it
Well,
have, does,
they
okay,
don't.
Does it have liquid water?
Yeah, liquid
okay.
water.
As far as we know, yes, they do because
There are. There are. I forget what the word is. Hyperventil.
Geothermal.
Geothermal vents
But
underneath.
geo
Because
would be
we've
another name.
seen water we've seen water vapor exiting the surface.
Yes,
So
yes.
that gives sign to something that's very hot underneath the surface.
and of course we need the one thing that we know about what our own planet has is everything needs water on to have life, but that could be completely
Well,
different.
on-
Go ahead.
On
Seth.
carbon based.
Like well, on Titan, if we're talking something that would be in the liquid methane, it would. I mean, its entire chemical structure
Mhm.
would have to be completely different from ours just to accommodate for a methane life form rather than us that are
Mhm.
mostly water. I mean, imagine what a creature that was 75% methane.
Yeah, definitely,
and
definitely.
You've just
Very
found
weird.
The cellular structure and the DNA would have to be completely chemically different.
I mean, as far as I know, I'm not sure if there is any animals on this planet or bacteria or whatever that lives and thrives in methane, but
There's not. Liquid
yeah.
methane doesn't really happen.
Yeah, and we don't. Yeah, we don't have liquid methane, but I mean, like the gases. Maybe there could be possible aliens in those gases.
Well,
but
I've heard of that. It was one of those Stephen Hawking shows, and he was talking about the gas giants, and if a life form would be there,
Yes,
it would have
yes.
to be. Then he showed something like a jellyfish type.
Yeah, it'd have to almost fly because Jupiter really doesn't have a surface. It's mostly gas.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brandon, which moon do you think is most likely to harbor life?
Well, I think Europa and Titan are the two right now that are the most likely based off of what we know. The problem that we have, of course, we were just talking about, is the methane. What I'm just curious about is what we have. How do we define life necessarily? Like the composition chemically. What would we have to find over there to consider that life? And so, as we are carbon-based life forms, there are some theories that suggest that other life forms could be silicon-based. So we don't necessarily know what kind of environment that could endure. So I think there are right now 2 moons that are probables, but we know that if there is any life, it's probably not very intelligent. It's basically, compared
Definitely.
to Earth, billions of years ago, that kind of life.
All right. So basically, you two both have very similar thoughts on that, despite your pseudoscience. You have no pseudoscience on that one for some reason.
There's not really any. I mean, unless you're gonna go with the. I guess there is a theory. I read it's actually in the Ancient Aliens book, that RNA can form spontaneously in space, meaning that actually life could be seeding everywhere. That
Definitely.
Because we have life in some form on every environment on Earth, so maybe it's just that the universe intentionally seeds every possible area it can with life.
Definitely. All right. We're gonna take a short break there, and we'll be right back. You are listening to Eudaimonia Podcast. If you like the songs in the background, please check out Autumn Burning on Facebook, Spotify, or you can go to iTunes and buy their album. Which moon in our solar system do you think will most likely harbor life? So that's what we left off on. Our next question is, and we almost kind of answered this one, but we'll go a little bit more into detail on it. I personally think that Europa would be the most likely to harbor life. However, Titan
That's
would
the
be
one
my
with the-
second that I would choose.
Europa's the one with the water, right?
Yes, the ice and the water and all that. Just because it's more, we know a lot more about water, rather than liquid methane.
We know that there are things that could live in geothermal
Yes,
vents rather than
exactly.
there's plausible speculation on methane.
Definitely, yeah. So basically, how the reason why, and the next question is life on Europa. Pretty much, how would it be like? What would the life be like on Europa? Go ahead and take it away, Seth.
Well, it's like you were just saying, it would be just pretty similar to how the geothermal vents on Earth are, because really, those are organisms that have evolved completely independent of sunlight. They just use heat from the Earth's core. Like it just it keeps. Even if the sun would completely disappear and everything on the surface would freeze, the very bottom of the ocean, the geothermal vents would still stay liquid, and and the core of the Earth would still be hot for millions of years after that. And that I don't know how the core of Europa is.
Yeah. From what I understand. I'm sorry. We should get on to Brandon, but I'm gonna quickly interject here. So basically, how we understand it is how it's Jupiter's moon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How I understand it is that Europa is being stretched and pushed apart, like not really apart, but like it stretches it and whatever, and that creates the liquid water because it's forming so hot. I don't know if there specifically actually is a core or not there, but I I guess that's how that kind of stuff works. So Brandon, go ahead and describe to me what you think life on Europa would be like.
Well, I really don't have much more to add to this because I think you guys hit on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, if anything, is very simple, possibly only cellular molecule, or it can be a cellular molecule because a molecule is more than one cell, but they're just cellular creatures, or possibly maybe molecular creatures, but they have probably no intelligent cognitive abilities,
Mm-hmm.
and most likely right now are asexual. So, and like I said earlier, one of the theories is that it's silicon based, unlike us. So we don't really know what kind of living conditions it can endure. But yeah, that's basically what I think.
All right. So our next question. Well, how I think life would be on Europa is pretty much exactly been discussed. So there's not really much more on that specific question. But there is another question that is sort of similar, but it does kind of go against what Brandon is saying here about intellectual beings on Europa. So if there were intellectual beings on Europa, how do you think? What do you think they would be like? And what do you think they would be doing? Like, why wouldn't we know that there's intellectual beings on Europa? Or why would we know? Go ahead, Seth.
They would. I mean, they would have to be aquatic. They don't. I would imagine something like that would have to be almost mermaid-like.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
If it's gonna have, I mean, unless it. Well, I guess at the same time, if it was silicone-based, that again completely rearranges the molecular structure of the organism.
Definitely, yeah.
And I mean, it is conceivable because silicon has the same valence electrons as
That's why the
carbon,
theory.
so
Yeah.
it could be just substituted out. And I mean, are they saying that it could maybe withstand more extreme temperatures?
That's what one of the ideas is, but we don't. The thing is, we don't know. We've never seen a
Yes,
silicon-based life
So-
form.
So Brandon, if there were intellectual beings on Europa, how do you think they would be like, and why do you think we wouldn't know about them?
Well, I think it'd probably be like the one Bioshock game that is underwater or whatever. But I think you're not going to have the ability to make structures out of artificial, like concrete. They'd have to use what's natural around them, like plants and seaweed and all that kind of stuff like that. But I don't think, even if they are smart, I don't think they would even have the ability to craft things like we do. It's going to be a very caveman-like, using what's around you. I think. I just don't think there's any. Even if they were intelligent, they just wouldn't have the capability to do anything off their planet.
Well, they also. I mean, earlier I said possibly mermaid-like, but it also just struck me. I would think even more likely they would maybe be more cephalopod-like, because even cephalopods that we know of are very intelligent as far as animals go. So maybe they would be something more like that.
Definitely. Now, I personally think intellectual life on Europa. I'm not saying that I think there is or isn't, but intellectual beings. Now Seth said that they could be like mermaids. That's a very plausible idea, but also you got to think if evolution is real and how we know it works. If that works like that, then I don't think they would become anything like mermaids, because that's too much like similar to humans, and I don't think they would be too much like human-like. So I think it could be possibly something like an octopus or something like that that could be very intelligent. Now that again, that's just comparing. I'm not saying that they would be an octopus that's smart, very very smart, because octopuses, as we octopi, sorry, as we know it, is a very intellectual being for such a primitive animal, and also intellectual beings. Maybe they have some sort of idea that, well, we can't drill on the other side of this moon. Maybe there's like they think that you shouldn't, or they have no reason to drill through it. Almost, I mean, sure, we dig as we are. Brandon, like what Brandon said, it could be some kind of primitive intellectual being. It could possibly be advanced or whatever, but I mean,
There's just no way to know.
there's no way to know until you actually go there and try to figure out what's there. And that's what we're trying to do, and we'll hopefully do that within the next, I would say 15 years, I'd say. What do you guys think?
Probably
15 years?
Maybe it depends if we get funding for NASA.
Yeah,
And
it really does.
I love NASA, but I think there's sometimes more important things our government could put money to. But if there's like a surplus of money that we have, which I know we kind of don't have right now, that's where we need to allocate the money right there. Is to funding programs like that.
Or at least find a way that there can be some sort of payout for the projects that they're going
Yeah.
Well, I have to say about that, the funding of NASA. They say a penny for NASA, and with a penny for NASA, I don't remember the exact time period, but they say that you could actually get to Mars in a short period of time, just by you personally donating 1 penny. Now, somebody said, "What if I donated 50 cents? What if everybody donated 50 cents?" He said, and this was Neil deGrasse Tyson that I'm quoting. He said that we could be on Mars tomorrow if everybody donated 50 cents. I don't know if that was a literal statement that he made, but
Might be like a euphemism or something.
yeah,
like
it could
that.
be like, obviously we wouldn't be able to build something overnight. It's going to take a lot more time, but we would have enough money in that
To
short
do
of
it
time.
very quickly.
Yeah. So, all right. So on to our next question. Do you think there could be any aliens anywhere else in our solar systems, or I'm sorry, in our solar system other than moons? Seth, go ahead.
Well, I mean, there is the possibility of Mars, which, I mean, it's possible that it may have had life. I don't know if there still is, but because its magnetic field is kind of more destroyed than Earth, so it actually gets a lot more of the sun's radiation.
Yeah.
But there is water on it, and I believe carbon dioxide atmosphere, which there could be things that could but I mean, and even then maybe it would have to be something like single-celled organisms.
So you think pretty much just Mars would be the only one? Do you think any others?
I mean,
Planets,
it's
asteroids, or anything?
like the possibilities are there, but I think it's probably not. Most of the other ones are going to be really, really hot, or really, really cold, or not even terrestrial, like the gas giants. That would be difficult to envision something there besides maybe some kind of jellyfish-like air floating.
Yeah, like Stephen Hawking. I'm sorry, but like there are some things that Stephen Hawking says that would be really cool to believe, and you can't really throw it out the door.
You just
But
understand
it's
so much more than we do, and that's
that's
one of the problems.
And I just yeah, that's true. And I don't know, some of the things he says that I just can't see happening. So
Are
what
you gonna
was
let
the
me
question?
respond to that?
No, I'm not gonna let you respond. Yeah, I'm gonna let you respond. I was just trying to find it. Okay, so do you think there could be aliens anywhere else in our solar system?
I think Mars is probably our best guess because Venus and Mercury are much too close to the sun, unless there's somehow life that can sustain 230 some Celsius degrees. But I think Mars is our best chance. Unfortunately, it does have one of the wider ranges of temperature of day and night. It gets up really high in the day and really low in the night. So you're going to have animals that are very ready to adapt to any kind of environment. I know there have been some like the one image we have of it where there's like looks like a face.
Mhm.
Well, that's bullshit.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's just a rock formation, and I think I don't want to say who it was, but there was an astronomer back. I think it was the guy who discovered Mars. He's through his telescope he found some kind sort of like canal-like thing that showed that there could have been like water that eroded the Martian surface. So that there's water, and we know there's water based off of the idea of where there's a smoke there must be fire. Well, if there's water, then there might have been life, but we don't know, and I think the only way we can ever know is if we send people
Definitely.
who are smart enough to perform experiments on Mars. If we send them over there, that's the only way we're ever going to find out.
Definitely.
We can't rely on satellites or probes or anything like that. It has to be. We have to have human intelligence down on the ground to do this.
Yes, and before I answer this question, Brandon said something about alien face on Mars. I've seen those some of those pictures, very similar, and some other pictures as well. Seth, since you like pseudoscience so much, why don't you tell me a little bit about this alien face? What do you think? Do you think it's possible? What do you think?
I'm pretty sure it was also just because the first picture that was taken, it looks like a face. Everyone saw it. It totally looks like a face, but I mean, with all of the random rock formations that are going to be on there, like the brain's gonna pick out shapes that it sees.
Definitely.
And they've taken other more clear photos of the same place, and it just looks like a mountain.
Don't touch my water.
Some conspiracy theorists say that they went and bombed it so they couldn't see.
Ancient aliens. High legend aliens.
As much as my reputation as one of the conspiracy facts are, I also try to be rational about those things, and I really do think that was just a
definitely. I know this is a little bit going off of the topic, but again, since you're our pseudoscience guys, some of these things have been popped up over space, and something quite like it. Like, say, for instance, the Apollo missions to the moon, there was those lights that was going on outside of the spacecraft from what it looked like. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I'm not sure because I've seen it.
First of all, explain what you think those lights, or the majority of people that think pseudoscience. What do you think they're thinking whenever they see those lights?
Now, are you talking about the ones that were actually caught on the cameras outside those shuttles, or just the lights people see in the skies all the time?
Well, I would say the ones, specifically referring to the Apollo mission, those lights.
Those ones, I don't. I've heard it argued both ways. It seems that it could possibly be just debris that, is floating at different distances, and it makes it look like it's arranging into shapes. But at the same time, it really does look like that just might be something weird going on.
Yeah. So basically, there's
it's just not clear enough to really tell. But at the same time, there are plenty of other places on Earth where people see these crazy lights flying around in ways that no aircraft that we know of should. And if it was something, it would probably be something like one of those.
Definitely. So basically, what we're talking about here, if you don't follow along, is the fact that some people actually think that there's UFOs that have been interacting with these spaceships, like the Apollo missions. There has also been rumors that there's aliens in the moon. Brandon, do you have anything to interject on what Seth was just talking about there?
Let me think here. Oh, the lights. The lights on. Well, there was actually footage. I can't remember the astronaut. Maybe it was like John Glenn. Maybe I can't remember. But one of the astronauts radioed in, and he caught on camera. He says, "Hey, we've seen these lights that are passing by our spacecraft, and they're going really, really fast because they'd be kind of like they were still relatively small, but they would fade out into almost nothingness. So they were reporting these things, and we were never able to actually see what they were. So right now, it's just it's one of those X-File things that we just don't
Definitely.
really know.
Yeah. So
It
some
could
people
have just been a comet or something, but it's just speculation.
Some people say that it's actually, since there's so many panes on the glasses in or the windows in the Apollo missions or any spacecraft at all at that, it's actually just the light bouncing off in between the windows. So it's just seeing multiple times going at extraordinary speeds. I might as well answer. Do I think there could be aliens anywhere else in our solar system other than moons? I think that the sun is a very good point from some scientists saying that there could be possibly life thriving in the sun because it has all the chemistry that you need to make life. But it's very sketchy. There's supposedly certain parts of the areas underneath the hottest films of the sun where you could where it's actually a little bit cooler.
So would it be something like, rather than our bodies that require chemical reactions to repair itself, would it be something maybe that draws its energy from the nuclear fission?
Yes,
fusion that
definitely.
happens?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So yeah, that's my take on that. So aliens in the moon. I said something about what is the pseudoscience about aliens on the moon?
I've heard this theory too. I'm not sure, because there's a few weird things about it. There's, for one thing, I've heard when the Apollo craft landed on it, they said the whole moon rang like a bell. For I think they said like half hour or something. I don't know if it's just maybe vibrations can travel really well through there, or if maybe it actually is hollow. I mean, if it is, it would be, say, if one of I don't think that, because it doesn't really have an atmosphere or anything, but if there was something that came there when the moon was already there and possibly could have built, say, a space station inside, I mean, there's really no proof. I mean, that's...
Which
if
is
there
why
is
you're our
something-
pseudoscience
yeah.
guy.
Take everything that I say with a grain of salt. I will
Yes.
say, like, if it's something I say is just a plausible theory, whether I actually believe that it's true.
Definitely. So, but some people might say that there is no sound in space, so how could they have heard it ring like a bell? Now, you kind of answered it, but I know some people will say something.
Hear it, just it would have been the vibration still traveling from
Inside.
the moon into the ship, and then the sound actually came when it vibrated the air inside the chamber from the walls of the ship.
Yeah. So some people might say that maybe it was the ship itself that would ring like a gong. It's just interacting with space a different way.
If it
Maybe.
I guess since there is no atmosphere to absorb that, the vibration, so it just contained it inside itself. It just had a harder time working the energy out.
Okay. So, Brandon, do you have anything on that subject at all?
No, I think you guys covered it.
Okay,
Well,
cool. Do you think anything against it?
No, I mean, I really don't know how to respond to some of that, because I haven't really heard of it. So,
Oh, okay.
And even as I say, it's probably bullshit.
yeah, I would have to assess it more, but
Yeah. Oh, okay. Personally, I don't think there is aliens in the moon because, well, I just don't think it likely. We would probably have seen them. I mean, sure, they could live inside there and stay inside there, but I think that there's a little bit behind that. Sure, you have the people on Earth saying that they see UFOs and stuff, but we'll touch base kind of on that, I think, here in the future on this podcast. So, is there a possibility, on to our next question, is there a possibility that life can thrive in space itself? Seth?
Well, I mean, I know you know. Do you know what tardigrades are?
Yes,
no,
definitely.
I don't.
Do you not, seriously not?
I've never heard of them.
Oh my gosh. Okay, go ahead, Seth.
So tardigrades are these little microscopic, or can you see them with it? I mean, if you can, they'd
It's
just be like
it's
little,
macroscopic.
They'd be, so
I
they'd be
think
little,
it's macroscopic.
but they just be
it's,
little specks if you saw.
yeah,
them.
it's as big as the tip of a pin.
Okay, so yeah, they call them water bears because they have these little stubby, like 8 stubby claw arms, or like weird caterpillar looking thing.
Okay, I know what these
yeah,
are
and
now.
they apparently can withstand higher and lower temperatures than anything that anything that you'll ever find on Earth, aside from like magma, and then and they have actually put them in space, and for I forget how long, but they left them out in the vacuum, radioactive space, and when they came back, they were just fine, and some of them had even reproduced in that environment.
Definitely.
They because I mean, what they do though, they more go into a hibernation, so I don't think something could really live like thriving in space, but things like tardigrades could go dormant, traveling on an asteroid or something until it lands somewhere, which is one of the panspermia theories that
yes.
So they're able to sustain like life out in space, but they manifest themselves on asteroids.
Like they could live in space, but maybe not necessarily thrive in space, but more, they go dormant until they can land on a planet
Someplace
where
to
they
sustain.
can,
Okay,
yeah.
that makes sense.
Okay, so are you?
And well, I'm saying that's the theory that like maybe how certain planets could be seeded with single-celled organisms that could, much later evolve into more complex organisms.
Okay, so Brandon, what's your take on life in space?
Well, as far as humans in space, when we send humans out to work on the International Space Station, the uniform or the suits they wear are pressurized so that it's like it is on Earth. We have the same amount of gravity keeping our body together. If let's just say, for instance, we took off the suit in outer space and just like laid out there, which we die almost instantaneously. What's going to happen is there's no pressure in space, so at least very little, from what I understand. So what's going to happen is the innards of your body are basically going to explode because there's more inward pressure pushing out than there is gravitational pull keeping you together. So these organisms, even if they are single-celled, they're going to have to be very, very, very durable to sustain that. So that's my take on it.
Okay, and of course, like Seth said, tardigrades. I think there was actually some other types of organisms that can survive in space, if not space.
Maybe certain extremophiles.
I don't remember what any of the names were. It's just the tardigrade is the one that they use the most. And I think there was other types of organisms that can stand extreme temperatures. For instance, I don't remember the name of it, but there is one that actually is in the ocean. I believe it's the ocean. It goes in and out of extreme temperatures. Like there's kind of like almost a geyser underwater, and these types of organisms go into the geyser and out of the geyser, which outside of the geyser it's extremely cold because it's so deep and there's no sunlight whatsoever. The only thing heating up that part is that geyser itself, which that's not enough heat to heat up the entire ocean. So those types of organisms actually can thrive inside of stuff like that.
And
as far as
that,
space,
change it in that's withstanding rapid changes in temperature.
Yes,
too, which
yes.
Yeah, that would
definitely.
yeah. And I mean that's not as much on the space thing, but it just gives you a little bit more peace of mind on how things could thrive in other types of climates and whatnot. First one of the intellectual kind of topic here is peaceful or conquering intellectual aliens. Seth, go ahead.
Well, as I was saying earlier in the book, Behold a Pale Horse, he's saying that there's actually more than one faction, and so it's not really a question of are the aliens peaceful or trying to conquer us, but like there's probably both, and probably plenty of other neutral ones. And I mean, at least according to him, yeah, there are some that kind of already have supposedly infiltrated our, the highest rungs of our government, and then others that are trying to work against them, but that just don't believe that humanity is ready. I mean, because even if you think about it logically, they've seen how much we freak out. I mean, we have nukes.
Yeah.
And like they know, like if they, we're kind of a jumpy species. Anything that we think might be a threat,
It's like, shit, we gotta kill them. We gotta. Just like those damn Muslims.
Those damn Christians.
What does the Bible have to say about aliens?
Well, actually, interestingly, Brandon, I know I say this all the time, but I have to say it. Catholicism, one of the popes, I don't know if it was the last pope or the pope before the last pope, said if there are aliens out there, we should be the first to baptize them.
Yeah, that was pretty recent.
Imagine if they were buried, like they couldn't, or hydrophobic of some sort, or like it was. I mean, water's an acid. Maybe it's bad to them. Like, what if they survive
well,
and
it's not
nothing?
an acid, but it's still
It's an
corrosive
acid.
if something is reacted.
There are
It's
people who
technically
can
an acid,
have
I think.
a hydrophobia. They can't be around water.
Yes.
Maybe
So
they're methane based.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Liquid methane.
We'll baptize you in the methane. We need to go to Titan
maybe
to baptize you.
We need liquid nitrogen. We could do that.
And then they. Oh, never mind. Okay. Anyways, so
Can I answer that question?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so you know how we go around walking and we see like a little bug or like ant or something like that, and we think that ant's life is almost meaningless, so we just step on it. What if aliens look the same way at humans as we did at ants? That we're so
Definitely.
intellectually inferior that we are nothing to them.
Definitely, yeah.
They don't even know how to bend space yet. They're still using fossil fuels?
Amateurs.
They don't know anything about quantum physics. Let's take them out.
You know what they do? They take Stephen Hawking and they take the smartest people and be like, "Oh, look at him! Look at this 3-year-old alien over here. He can already, do the mathematical equation in his head. This guy spent 60 years on it and still barely knows it."
Yeah. And
and people like that are kind of like the animals that can do tricks to us. They're still stupid, but they can do that. Not a whole lot.
So basically, you have more of a Neil deGrasse Tyson, Stephen Hawking kind of view on that. All right. Well, my view on the peaceful or conquering, I think that it could be either or. I try to lean more towards the peaceful side because if you come up with like interstellar travel, if they do come up with that, maybe if they're on a planet, maybe they are conquering intellectual aliens. But if they are more intellectual than us, I think that possibly they would overcome the battles and wars. Unlike what Stephen Hawking says, to harvest planets for life itself or whatever. Maybe they've moved past like fuel. Maybe they don't need biofuel.
Yeah.
Maybe since they developed warp travel, maybe they don't need that at all. Maybe they used nuclear fission or something. Maybe they could harvest the sun for their power or whatever.
Well, it's theorized that the crafts, the UFOs that we know of, are probably powered by electromagnetic vortexes, which was a thing that Tesla was working on. That he had this theory of being able to turn the Earth's magnetic field into a power grid and be able to harness it into, by using people have supposedly made these things. So you can arrange electromagnets in an engine to basically make a whirlpool of magnetism there's like a pocket of energy that makes a self-sustaining system, and that would, using basing stuff on that technology, people have made some, like there was one guy that even made an anti-gravity chamber. People, they'll make engines that don't require any kind of fuel, that it's just from the magnets powering themselves, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So that as far as biofuel for your vehicle, I don't think so. There's also a philosophy on maybe for food, which I think that they would find a more reliable source on food and figure out a way to have a more of a renewable resource, and maybe they would be able. I think that they might be able to terraform if they had enough intellectual knowledge to interstellarly travel. And so they could terraform almost any planet and try to grow food on that.
They have the same resources as we do. You'd have to assume that first.
And if they have these spaceships, and if they have these spaceships, I think that they obviously have to live in these spaceships for a long period of time. So why couldn't they terraform their own spaceship to make it livable? So that's there's basically almost no reason to kill something. I mean, I save creatures that come into my house all the time. Also, whenever you look at zoos and stuff, sure, that's almost a terrible example because they're enslaving it almost. But at the same time,
they're trying to preserve it.
Yeah. At the same time, they're looking at the monkeys and saying, look, let's try to teach them how to do this, this, and this. But they just can't get to their level. Yeah. Whereas I think that we could possibly have the knowledge to be able to get to that level. Yeah. After so much of teaching. The only reason why we cast out monkeys is because they're just not, they can't do it. They just...
they're pretty smart.
Oh, yeah, they're very smart.
You've been listening to Eudaimonia Podcast. Please watch for the second segment. It will have our social media questions. Thank you for listening.